r/AskReddit. Which conspiracy theory do you believe is true? Those sitting at the top of US society, i.e. political bosses, think tanks, owners of media conglomerates, intentionally see distrust and fear between different factions, races, religions, regions, etc. of American society, so we forget our commonality and can't see how hard it is we're all getting effed over by those at the top. As President Johnson put it, if you can convince the lowest white man he's better than the best man of color, he won't notice you're picking his pocket. Heck, give him somebody to look down on and he'll empty his pockets for you. Related, companies whose products actively degrade human/environmental health, i.e. soft drink companies, plastic manufacturers, oil companies, etc., have very actively and aggressively pushed the quote personal responsibility angle so we can believe everything is up to us. Not that we shouldn't be responsible for our own actions, but they've perverted our sense of what their contributions, sacrifices, and initiatives should be, which could actually have a massive and genuine impact, but it also impacts their bottom line, so they sow misinformation. The original nuclear tests in the US Southwest were done to also test the side effects of radiation on human populations. Not a conspiracy theory. They told civilians to sit on their front porches, watch the bombs, and wear a pin that records radiation levels. This was my grandparents. My mom has several types of cancer. Got a small settlement, nothing compared to the never-ending medical bills. Both grandparents dead of cancer. All of my mom's 8 siblings have had or died from cancer. The line on the laundry detergent measuring cup is higher than it needs to be. That Coca-Cola came out with new Coke in order to change the original formula to corn syrup from real sugar without people complaining about the subtle difference. Just buy Mexican Coke. I see it sold pretty much everywhere. David Kelly didn't kill himself. Now, for those who are too young to remember, shortly after 9/11, the US and the UK decided to invade Iraq. The rationale was that Iraq had weapons of mass destruction, WMDs, even though the UN's chief weapons inspector was not convinced. A prominent UK weapons expert, one David Kelly, leaked to a journalist that he believed the report of alleging WMDs was, quote, sexed up in order to give an excuse to go to war, and repeated his claims in front of a parliamentary committee. In so doing, he massively embarrassed the government because he was essentially accusing them of fabricating evidence to give them an excuse to go to a war they had already decided to fight. 2 days later, Kelly took a huge dose of coproximol and slit his wrists, severing his ulnar artery, on a walk in the woods near his home. Michael Jordan's 2-year stint in baseball was actually a 2-year NBA ban for gambling on games. Nah, it was a marketing deal for Space Jam. That most, if not all, countries have done experiments on humans against their will. Most of the votes on Reddit moving things to the top are from troll farms and corporations. Based on stuff I've seen in here, monopolies, at least in the US, are only illegal on paper, and the ones you hear about getting stopped likely piss somebody off. I feel like the round earth theory is true. All the novels written by Dean Koontz are in fact written by a golden retriever. The man in all the author pictures was hired because no one would take a dog novelist seriously. The first NBA draft lottery was rigged to give Patrick Ewing to the Knicks. On the video, the commissioner pulls an envelope out with a clearly bent corner and sighs a huge sigh of relief when he reads what's inside. Well, that worked out really well for him. Former Knicks/NBA fan. Governments spread wild and crazy conspiracy theories to discredit conspiracy theorists and make them look like lunatics. That way, when someone actually finds a real conspiracy, people will just go, "Oh, it's one of those crazy guys." I genuinely think the FBI and the Kennedys had Marilyn Monroe killed. I always thought that competition reality shows purposely send someone home each season that deserves to stay, so that people will get mad and talk about it online and get other people interested in watching the show. Throwback Thursday was invented so that social media apps, mainly Facebook, could build and develop facial recognition technology, showing the faces of people over time. I think they have cloned humans. Exhibit A, Gucci Mane. Exhibit B, Gucci Backup. Every few weeks, this question is posted by them to check if we've discovered them yet. Sony had Michael Jackson killed so they could secure the rights on the Beatles' discography. Selling ridiculously expensive paintings is a way of money laundering. Paul Pierce pooped his pants in an NBA game and pretended he hurt his ankle to get a wheelchair off court. He already admitted he pooed his pants. It came to mind that women's makeup is actually secretly damaging their skin. so when they see it, they'd be convinced to buy more makeup. That hot dog manufacturers have a secret agreement with bun companies to produce different amounts of each product. I don't know the numbers exactly, but for example, you need hot dogs for a cookout, so you buy some, and the only available package size is 8 hot dogs. Then you go and get some buns, which only come in packs of 12. Therefore, once you cook your 8 hot dogs, you still have leftover buns, which means you will go buy more hot dogs to use those buns, and you'll have to then buy more buns to use up those hot dogs that were bought to finish the original buns. The cycle continues. Mo Sizlak secretly knows the Simpson children are prank calling him, but is playing along with them because he enjoys hearing them laugh. There are only 42 questions ever asked on this sub, and they're randomly posted by a bot. I think the bot needs work though. This one was only asked 2 days ago. Plenty of conspiracy theories are largely accepted to be true. As a matter of historical record, Nixon and LBJ conspired to prolong the Vietnam War to help Nixon's 1972 election campaign. Google, Facebook, etc. conspired with the NSA to share data. PRISM program. NSA conspired to infiltrate bodies like NIST and weaken encryption standards. Bull Run program. CIA used whorehouses to kidnap people and drug them with LSD to experiment with behavior mind control. MKUltra. Tuskegee syphilis conspiracy, etc., etc. Stevie Wonder can see. Jim Jones was a CIA operative running MKUltra mind control experiments. Congressman Ryan was going to blow the lid off the whole operation and try to have the CIA abolished. He was murdered as he boarded his airplane to fly back to the States, and everybody in Jonestown was either forced to drink the Kool-Aid or shot in order to silence him. JFK was only wounded by LHO's bullet. He was actually killed by a Secret Service agent's bullet accidentally, which is why there was such an obvious cover-up. Mattress Firm is a front for folks to launder money through. The amount of them in my town is absurd. There's like 3 within a mile stretch. 2 of them are across the street from each other. I'm not buying it, just like people aren't regularly buying mattresses. Our phones are listening to us. The reason we don't have free education and free healthcare in the United States is because those are the 2 big factors in why people join the military. They can promise the GI Bill and VA hospitals to all that serve. If you take those huge motivations away, then you will lose a big percentage of recruits. They intentionally put tiny pockets in women's clothing to sell purses and bags. Elon broke the Cybertruck window on purpose to get more memes out of it. That Beyoncé is actually 10+ years older than what she says she is. And Solange isn't her sister, she's her daughter, and it was hidden to help Beyoncé's career. Gabrielle Union has stated before she and Beyoncé were friends and the same age. Gabrielle Union is 47. Beyoncé is stated as being 38 currently. That there are monsters in the ocean. We have only discovered 5% of our world's ocean, and I truly believe there is something hiding down there. Edit. Turns out it's like 9 or 10% now. That Yuri Gagarin was not the first man in space. Only the first the Soviets got back down alive. 2 conspiracy theorists walk into a bar. You can't tell me that was just a coincidence, man. We live in a simulation. However, the code is constantly being upgraded. In olden times, there were plenty of bugs that were easy to exploit if you knew where to look. Thus, things like miracles and magic were basically hackers doing what they do. Okay, I don't really believe this is true, I just like it. Government uses tragedies and chaos to push through legislation that would be under scrutiny from their citizens under normal times. That Jar Jar Binks is a Sith Lord, and he was supposed to be in Count Dooku's place. The royal family definitely killed Diana. We have no choice in president in the USA. The British government did everything they could to ensure that the Lusitania would be sunk by a German U-boat and hasten America's entry into World War I. I think Marilyn Monroe was really killed by someone in the government for knowing too much about the president's affairs. Woody Harrelson's dad, Charles Harrelson, a known hitman who died in prison while serving a sentence for killing a federal judge, was one of the 3 men who killed JFK. The day JFK was shot, 3 homeless men were arrested with photos of them dressed and known as the 3 Tramps. None of these men were homeless. They were released shortly after. Charles Harrelson repeatedly admitted he killed JFK. However, Charles Harrelson was just a triggerman. The CIA was responsible for JFK's death. Oswald was just a fall guy. Thank you so much for watching this video today. If you want to hear more Reddit stories, subscribe, like, and comment on this video to help the algorithm, And what conspiracy theory do you believe? Personally, I think there might be a smear campaign against tinfoil hats. With all the radio waves and radiation flowing through the air, they just don't want us blocking all that stuff out, because this way, we're less lucid. But you guys take care, and help us fight against the robot threat.